The ACLU has long been synonymous with freedom of speech. They defended it from even the most hated groups like the Nazis, the Klan, even the Jehovah's Witnesses. It was never about what you were saying. It was about the liberal principle of your right to say it. Well, they have new guidelines now, namely that before taking a case, ACL lawyers should consider if the case might cause offense to marginalized groups, or if a potential client's values are contrary to our values. Contrary to our values? Your values are free speech.
You'd expect that now that the whole woke circus is finally packing up, the corporations that guzzled that rainbow-flavored Kool-Aid would wake up from their stupor. Some actually have, but a stubborn few are still gripping the same self-destructive ideology that tanked their stock and torched their credibility. That's where Bill Maher steps in, the sharp-tongued, battle-tested anti-woke firebrand, charging straight into the chaos to finish the job. And he didn't just talk about it. He struck the match live on air, torching the hypocrisy in front of millions.
To become the opposite of what you always were, you have to change your name. It's become a trend in America these days, morphing into something completely different from what you were founded as, but still pretending you're the old you. TLC stands for the Learning Channel. They used to have shows like Learn to Read and Ready, Set, Learn. Here's some of their present and recent offerings. Cake Boss, Gypsy Sisters, Toddlers and Tiaras, Extreme Couponing, What Not to Wear, My Teen is Pregnant and So Am I. 1,000-Pound Sisters and Alaskan Women Looking for Love. And that's just the shows about the Palin.
Maher kicks things off by taking aim at TLC, once the Learning Channel, a network meant to educate and inspire, for completely losing its direction. What used to be a platform for knowledge and enlightenment, he argues, has devolved into a circus of woke nonsense. The thought-provoking documentaries and science programs that once expanded minds have been swapped out for reality shows that glorify obesity, celebrate disorder by showcasing unruly kids, and push the idea that dating should only happen within your political or ideological tribe. Maher's critique hits home. TLC didn't just lose its way, it threw its map overboard. In its desperate pursuit of validation from the outrage-driven crowd, the network abandoned curiosity for conformity, transforming into a dim reminder of how far corporate America will sink in its quest to look virtuous.
The A in A&E stands for arts. Seriously, they used to show the symphony. Now they have Deep Fried Dynasty, Hoarders, Storage Wars, Ghost Hunters, and Psychic Kids. You know, for people who find the Learning Channel too intellectual.
Remember when the A in A&E actually meant arts? No joke, this was a network that once showcased symphonies and genuine cultural storytelling. Now, it's packed with Deep Fried Dynasty, Hoarders, Storage Wars, Ghost Hunters, and Psychic Kids, basically, programming for anyone who thought the Learning Channel required too many brain cells. A&E, once a proud platform for artistic expression and thoughtful documentaries, has completely sold out to the same ideological circus. The art is gone, the culture replaced by an endless trickle of woke narratives dressed up as progressive enlightenment. What was once a hub of creativity has turned into a parade of confusion, branded as representation. As Maher puts it, the A has vanished, leaving only the E, and this time it stands for empty. A network once committed to artistic excellence has become yet another casualty in the culture war, swapping substance for slogans, integrity for ideology, and authentic storytelling for shallow spectacle.
The History Channel has no history, and MTV has no music. I'm just saying, you can buy a petting zoo and turn it into a bondage dungeon, but you gotta change the sign.
Maher's aim is dead on, and it's hard to disagree. These networks are drowning in hypocrisy, clinging to brand names that have lost all meaning while their programming tells a completely different story. If A&E is nothing but shallow entertainment now, then drop the pretense and just call it E. And if TLC has traded learning for chaos and cheap spectacle, let's be real. It's not the Learning Channel anymore, it's the Chaos Channel. Maher's critique hits where it stings most. Don't wave the banner of virtue or legacy when you've abandoned both. Either honor the principles that built your reputation or admit you've sold out to the woke marketing machine. Because at this point, these once great channels aren't promoting culture, they're broadcasting their own downfall.
Playboy put a gay man on the cover, which I guess we're supposed to celebrate, even though it was 2021 and there's already a dozen magazines for gay guys, 13 if you count Martha Stewart Living. Do we really need LGBT representation in Playboy? There's a transgender teenager on every show on television except reruns of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
And then there's Playboy, yes, that Playboy somehow deciding it needed a seat on the woke bandwagon. The same brand that once built its empire on celebrating beauty, boldness, and unapologetic masculinity suddenly tried to reinvent itself through political correctness, rebranding to appeal to the LGBTQ demographic. The irony is almost laughable. In a media world already drowning in forced representation, Playboy's progressive pivot looked less like courage and more like desperation. In chasing approval, it alienated the very audience that made it legendary, swapping its trademark confidence for hollow virtue signaling. Maher hits the mark again. This wasn't about real inclusivity, it was about trend chasing under the guise of moral evolution. Playboy didn't adapt, it capitulated. And in doing so, it turned into the perfect symbol of performative wokeness, a brand so obsessed with external validation that it forgot its identity, its audience, and the unapologetic spirit that once made it matter.
The same thing is going on with the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, which now celebrates all kind of bodies except, the good kind. Was it really such a crime against humanity to have one magazine once a year that was about finding creative ways for supermodels to hide their nipples? Now it looks like it's edited by the Huffington Post.
The real objective behind this cultural shift was both deceptively simple and dangerously one-sided: tear down masculinity while glorifying femininity. Somewhere along the way, being a man turned into a flaw, something to mock, fix, or apologize for, while femininity was elevated to sacred status, beyond criticism. That's why we're constantly bombarded with talk of toxic masculinity, but never hear a word about toxic femininity. It became the go-to weapon for shaming men who are assertive, ambitious, or strong. You can see the pattern everywhere in TV shows filled with flawless, all-knowing mothers and clueless, incompetent fathers who can't even change a light bulb without help. The message is subtle but relentless. Men are the problem. Women are the solution. Maher cuts right through it. This isn't equality. It's a cultural rewrite. Masculinity hasn't just been sidelined. It's been mocked, diluted, and replaced with a watered-down version that's too afraid to stand its ground.
Valentine's Day, which was always a day to celebrate coupledom. It wasn't complicated. Flowers, chocolates, blah. And yet, every year now, I more and more hear this idea that Valentine's Day is also a day to celebrate being alone. Be your own Valentine. That's right, on the one day was specifically set aside to honor bonding between two people. Don't do that. Make it about the opposite of that. Be your own Valentine. Get your own cheap, stale chocolates at CVS.
Maher then turned his sights on Valentine's Day, and the outcome was nothing short of hilarious. What used to be a celebration of love, connection, and genuine affection has been hijacked by the woke crowd and stripped of its joy. Romance has been replaced with a strange celebration of solitude, as if being single isn't just a personal phase anymore, but a political statement. Now, wanting a partner is treated like weakness, a sign of dependence, or outdated thinking. Maher ripped into the absurdity with his trademark bite. A holiday once meant for affection has been reduced to a glorified self-love rally. The woke crusade has drained Valentine's Day of warmth, intimacy, and spontaneity, trading roses and heartfelt gestures for hashtags and hollow affirmations. What was once about togetherness has become another casualty of ideological overreach, and Maher's making sure no one overlooks it.
Boy Scouts of America used to be an organization for boys because girls have cooties. But now the Boy Scouts accept girls, which I guess is inclusive, but it ignores the very important need for boys to sometimes get together as boys to fart in a sleeping bag and laugh at that which girls don't find funny. It also ignores the fact that there has always also been a scout troop for girls. You may have heard of it, the Girl Scouts.
The woke movement, as Maher points out, never lets common sense stand in its way. Take the Boy Scouts, for example. For decades, things were straightforward. There were Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, each serving a clear purpose, teaching values, discipline, and leadership in their own way. But suddenly, that wasn't enough. Under the banner of inclusion, girls had to be brought into the Boy Scouts. And for what reason? The Girl Scouts weren't shutting anyone out or lacking in opportunities. They already had a strong, established tradition. But the woke impulse seems to be about fixing what isn't broken. Maher calls it for what it is, inclusion twisted into intrusion. It stopped being about equality and has become an effort to erase distinctions that once made perfect sense. The result? Confusion, controversy, and the slow unraveling of institutions that once built character and community, all sacrificed on the altar of performative progress.
Anything just be what it is anymore? Weight Watchers used to be a club for people to lose weight, back when that was a good thing. Now we're so through the looking glass that obesity, the absolute undeniable #1 cause for ill health and death in America, is called body positivity. And people are shamed for losing weight. It happened to Adele. Weight Watchers is so intimidated they changed their name to WW. Why not just call yourselves Wait, don't tell me?
The body positivity movement, one of the few woke crusades that almost earns a bit of sympathy. At first, it seemed genuine, promoting self-acceptance, confidence, and freedom from unrealistic beauty standards. But as with most things the woke crowd grabs onto, it spiraled out of control. What began as a message of self-love turned into a campaign that glorified obesity and branded legitimate health concerns as fat phobia. Maher doesn't mince words. He calls it what it is: a ticking time bomb dressed up as empowerment. You can't preach self-care while normalizing behavior that undermines health. Science, logic, and plain common sense were tossed aside in favor of feelings and catchy slogans. The outcome? A movement crushed by its own contradictions. No matter how many hashtags trend or how slick the messaging becomes, unhealthy will never be healthy, and deep down, everyone knows that reality was bound to catch up sooner or later.
Making a case, ACL lawyers should consider if the case might cause offense to marginalized groups, or if a potential client's values are contrary to our values. Contrary to our values? Your values are free speech and the First Amendment. Those are your values. Your whole purpose in life is not to be worried about offense to marginalized groups, because we understand that free speech is an even more important value than never being offended.
Exactly. Since when did the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, start walking on eggshells over people's feelings? This was once the organization that fearlessly defended free speech, no matter how offensive, controversial, or unpopular. Their mission used to be crystal clear: protect anyone being silenced for speaking their mind. But somewhere along the line, that mission got hijacked. Once a bastion of principle, the ACLU began to bend under the weight of woke ideology. As new leadership with activist agendas took over, its backbone weakened. The fearless defenders of liberty turned into nervous gatekeepers, cherry-picking which speech was acceptable and which wasn't. Maher didn't pull any punches. He blasted the ACLU for what it's become: a once great institution reduced to a platform for political pandering. It stopped defending freedom and started defending feelings. It's proof that even the strongest organizations can collapse when ideology overtakes principle. Maher's larger point cuts deep. Wokeness isn't progress, it's cultural decay dressed up as moral virtue. Across the board, from TV networks and magazines to scouting programs and civil rights groups, institutions built on purpose and integrity have been hijacked by hypocrisy and virtue signaling. They preach inclusion while rejecting common sense, champion authenticity while censoring dissent, and glorify weakness while ridiculing strength. His crusade isn't about politics, it's about sanity. It's a wake-up call. Tearing down tradition doesn't make you enlightened. When every cultural pillar bends to appease outrage, what's left isn't progress, it's chaos pretending to be compassion. Maher calls it out loud, raw, and live, unfiltered truth in a world allergic to it. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed the heat, hit that like button and subscribe for more unapologetic commentary. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.